Historians may disagree on what was the first musical instrument and even where it was created. However, one thing's for certain, music has been instrumental in the development of civilizations worldwide. Recently, Ken Wilshire met a fellow in the Smoky Mountains who carries on a music tradition that played a role in the settlement of Tennessee.
These beautifully handcrafted musical instruments are just like the ones used by our early American forefathers when they settled here in the mountains of East Tennessee. You'll find them displayed in the Wood and Strings Dulcimer shop in Townsend. They're the inspirational creations of dulcimer maker Mike Clemmer.
I've always loved woodworking. I've always loved people, and I've always loved music.
And music is certainly what you'll find at Wood and Strings. It's Mike's shop here in the Smoky Mountains, where he's been crafting dulcimers for about 40 years.
In 1976, I started building some dulcimers with a friend. When I built one in '76, I figured I better learn how to play it. And then that's what's happened since then.
And since then, he's learned well. Not only are he and his wife Connie accomplished musicians, Mike clearly understands the dulcimer's heritage and his responsibility in keeping it alive. You see, just like cornmeal and salt were staples of mountain settlers, music was an important part of their family life as well, and the dulcimer was a popular choice.
The dulcimer came from right here: Kentucky, West Virginia, Virginia, North Carolina, Northern Georgia, East Tennessee, all in the Appalachia. And I really believe that when people got here, they wanted to do one thing first, and that was build a home for their family. Then they built a home for their animals, you know, a barn. Then they built a home for their God. And when they did that, they needed some music.
So the spiritual sounds of the dulcimer were perfect. Mike incorporates his extensive knowledge of its history when he designs and builds each one. He's even added his own unique sounds.
I have an instrument that I've invented called the band jammer, which is basically it plays like a dulcimer, but it sounds like a banjo. I make what is known as a clembro, for lack of any other word. We don't want to get with dobro problems, you know. I'll just call it Fred, you know. I don't know. But you can also play it with a slide and get a lot of that dobro type of sound.
Mike also builds a double neck instrument for two people to play. He calls it a courting dulcimer.
The story goes, and I've actually researched this, that when the young man would come to court his young lady, Mom and Dad would put two chairs on the front porch and put this instrument between them. And then they go inside to give them a little privacy. And as long as they heard two parts, they knew their hands were busy.
And Mike's hands are busy finding just the right wormy chestnut, walnut, or hickory when he begins. He can almost hear the sound of his next dulcimer by simply thumping the wood.
There's an old fiddle maker's trick that you hold a piece of wood up and you'll thump it with the back of your knuckle. And when it's about an inch thick or so, you can hear it. It'll go thump or it'll go bong. Okay, well, thump makes a good shelf and bong makes a good instrument, you know. So what I do is I spend more time picking out my wood, honestly, than I do making the dulcimer, because I found out that if you spend more time gathering the wood, the right wood, that you don't have to do so much to it in your shop.
Once Mike shaped these wooden works of art to perfection, they're signed and commissioned to play.
Sound does something to us. Music does something to us. And I don't care whether you're a teenager, listen to the hardest rock you can, or some sort of rap or something, or somebody listen to Lawrence Welk. It brings back memories, and it's always good memories. You know, it's just one of those things, if you strum a little bit and play a song, that you've actually created that. It's very fulfilling.
Mike says anyone can learn to play the dulcimer within a few minutes.
And I have people come in here as young as 7 or 8, or some folks in their 90s, and have never ever played an instrument in their life, and can actually sit down and play 2 or 3 songs within the first few minutes. It's a wonderful thing to see that light in their eye. So you don't have to pay an arm or a leg to have a lot of fun. And you don't have to take years and years and years of lessons to play. Matter of fact, I'm going to set you down. You're going to play before we finish this.
Well, Mike welcomed the opportunity to show me a few chords, and he even trusted me with one of his brand new Dulcimers.
We ready?
Oh, we're ready. Now what you need to do is when we're all playing most of the time, you just play all the strings open.
Okay.
Yep. Now, you did notice we played a different chord every now and then? All you have to do is take your finger and go across that on the third one right there. That's it.
All righty.
Meanwhile, the Durst family from Kansas stopped by the shop to visit with Mike. They had been waiting patiently behind the scenes, and what a surprise they were. It was almost magical. One by one, the stair-step ensemble gathered the instruments, and suddenly it was an improv jam session, and I was invited to play. It's amazing we were all total strangers, but for the few minutes we shared together, we were one big family, and nothing else in the world really mattered. Well, other than strumming in rhythm and hitting the third fret on the right beat. So thanks to Mike and Connie for their love of making and encouragement for playing these homespun instruments. Thanks also for keeping a precious part of Tennessee history alive and for giving us a warm, welcoming place in these beautiful mountains to experience it all.
That's great. That really is.
Great job.